So it is kind of hard to do a 1, 2 sentence summary like last year because there's so much to unpack. And the first book here is by David Eagleman called The Brain. I know the title is not very catchy or clickbaity, but don't be mistaken though, it's a very good book. And if you ever read A Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, explaining, black holes and everyday language, it's kind of like that book. This is, but instead of black holes, this is for neuroscience. It's written in very simple to understand language. Anybody can pick it up and get into neuroscience. And today, though, I want to pick on one particular section. And if you ever end up getting the book, it's on page 78. If you do jujitsu or judo, you've heard of this question like, what is the difference between a white belt and a black belt? And you might say years of training, and a black belt has more technical knowledge. It also along the line of having more experience, right? So I have never really thought any deeper than that until I read this section. What does it mean exactly? Having more experience. Like what's happening inside our heads, right? Well, let's get into it. So we have this kid here, Austin, who is 10 years old, and he is a cup stacking champion, right? You build cups into a stack like this, and he can do this in 5 seconds. If you have never stacked cups before, on average, it takes you about 43 seconds. So David wanted to see what the heck is going on inside his brain, right? How it is different from somebody who has never stacked cups before. So he put on the EEG device on his head and also in Austin's head, and they try to stack cups at the same time, see what kind of brain activity is going on. And what they found out was really surprising. So they expected to see, since Austin's really fast at stacking cups, his brain would be full of activities, right? How is that different from David's brain activities? And when they found out, Austin's brain looked as if it was asleep. There was very little activity, even though he performed very, very fast. And David's brain, in comparison, is full of activity. If you ever seen a black belt roll with a white belt, you can kind of see the similarity, right? Like the black belt look like he's asleep, and the white belt maybe not knowing what to do, like he would be struggling to survive. So then what's really happening is that, Austin has stacked cups so many times, and his brain has developed special connections in between his neurons for this specific task. So it's kind of like a special hardware. So think of it in terms of like graphic cards, right? If you're doing video processing, or if you're a gamer, you want graphic cards to make your games better, or if you're video editing, you need a graphic cards to do those tasks. So graphic cards in this case are special hardware for processing video. In Austin's case, he has made up his own special hardware by performing this task repeatedly over time, right? Stacking cups. And his brain is, instead of him using the main processing power of his brain, he is using this specialized hardware, and it's why the majority of his brain is still relaxed, but because he is using this special hardware. So now the difference from video cards is that, video cards you can get it at my Best Buy or Micro Center and you go buy it. But this one, you are developing your own hardware, And it is all dependent on are you doing some kind of skill acquisition over time. So it doesn't necessarily need to be jujitsu or judo. It can be any kind of skill acquisition, right? That was quite a long review. Here's my key message, right? That every time you go to training or every time you say something to yourself, you're basically developing the special hardware for for that task. So, for example, let's say you say to yourself, "I'm not gonna take downs," right? And if you keep telling yourself that, you are basically developing a specialized hardware that keeps telling you back, like, "Yeah, I'm not good at takedowns," right? And if you flip that, let's say, "I'm not gonna take downs. I'm gonna work on it, and I'm gonna get better a little bit a day every time I train," right? So then what's going to keep happening is that your specialized hardware is going towards improvement. So it's really helpful to think in terms of, you know, you developing this specialized hardware, and it's depends on you. It's based on your thinking.